Hello, Happy New Year. Alvin Lee here, young man, and my important guest here, Oliver Tian from Asia Pacific Assistive Robotic Association. Okay, today is the very important day that we are now going to be Chinese New Year soon in about 2 weeks. So this is part of a whole series of WAB Lab Roads to Success. This is the time where we interview all the close up and in very informal, coming near to a SME owner to find out how they feel and what is real, what is raw, and what is really important to know. Okay, so just a quick recap. The first one that we did in this series was Castles Can Fly, a corporate training company for 16 years, and the founder is me. Next one was the owner of a WAB Lab, Anthony Tan, and he shared with us how his adult training, government-funded programs that go from there, the hurdles that he go through. And the third one was Dr. Yvette Chiang. Dr. Yvette Chiang was a very lively, bubbly lady. I call her the woman who moved mountain. Okay, so she shared with us the good news where the staff in Singapore couldn't do a lot of things, and the Malaysian people are blocked out, and there are a lot of things that become good opportunity for her. And the next person that we interview is Chen Fuji, the famous $25 crab fried rice. So Roger Koh again shared with the pain of the importing of the crab and how the F&B retail has been severely hit. Then the next lady that helped us, another woman who moved mountains, is Lo En En. So she ran Able Tech, and she was dealing with the construction industry. So in the construction industry, because of the close down, many things go through in not a good way. And number 6 person was Mr. Mark Abishkanathan. QRA is in the business of a thermal environmental chamber. So these are the people who, in a very good way, business boom down because all the pharmaceutical company, all the automotive requires a lot of testing, and because they are all cannot be traveling across overseas, across borders, his business boom out very well. So today we have very happy to have Oliver here to join us. Just a simple explanation about robotics and assistive robotics. If you remember out there, most of people who think about robotics, it will come in the shape of a form of E.T., in the shape of form of Robin Williams and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those lot. So we'll have our friend here, Mr. Oliver Tian, to share with us a lot about assistive robotics. Okay, maybe just a quick word to the audience, say hello and introduce yourself to go from there.
Sure. Hi everyone, it's good to talk to all of you. In fact, it is a great pleasure to be here to share some of the experiences that we are going through, particularly at this time where COVID is kind of disrupting a lot of our life. And whether you are a homemaker, whether you are a corporate leader or just a professional working out there, COVID is not letting anybody go easy, right? It's going to affect all of us. I'm happy to share some experiences, particularly in the area of assistive robotics. Now, like what Alvin mentioned, right? When we talk about robots, you either look at the factory pick and drop arms, or you look at all the sci-fi imagination of what robots can be. Honestly speaking, robots can come in many, many different forms. And I personally believe that if you put artificial intelligence together with robots, you can find the concept of a very powerful, intelligent machine that can do wonders. And it can really spread across a whole spectrum of areas that it can assist you in your daily life. So I hope to be able to share some of these ideas, some of these thoughts around how assistive robotics and what our association has done over the past 3 years to support the community. More importantly, regardless of whether you're a professional, a technical person, or management, or perhaps even homemakers, what can you understand about AI in robotics that makes your life a lot more interesting?
Okay, so from the little I learned from Oliver, he has a 30 years experience from the MNCs and the government-related consultancy projects. So come from very big, but some of them are very, very niche program and projects. So maybe just for the audience, when you say the AI and the assistive robotics, I assume that long time ago, robots existed. They were, what I use the word, not intelligent. You just do here, point A to point B. That was like back in the 60s. So now, how does AI plus assistive robotics makes a difference?
I think, first of all, software is probably one of the biggest components that brought in the difference. The ability to program and capture a lot of processes, algorithms, and if you like to use the word intelligence, into logic that can be inserted inside the machine to get the machine to behave the way we want it to behave is probably one big difference. Right?
Okay.
In the past, a lot of times when you look at robots, it is a very straightforward, predetermined set of steps that you want the machine to perform. But with AI and the ability to look into machine learning concepts and deep learning concepts, the system is able to really kind of reflect through and understand some of the happenings, learn from the data that's collected, and perform the right analytics to continue to improve on what they're doing. A bit like what the human would do. Not totally exactly like what a human would do at this point in time, but really it performs a similar trend of behavior that allows a machine to slowly and surely become better and better over time. So we chose the word assistive robotics because we believe, the association and the members believe, that robots are here to assist us, human beings. I am a proponent of how technology should be able to augment our capability and potential. And when I say augment, it means it should supplement us, it should support us, it should assist us. And that's where the word comes in. It should be assistive to what we are doing and not so much take over the task we are doing. But I must caution here, what's important is humans need to be capable of continually upgrading ourselves. Okay. And if we are able to do so, one day, and soon to be, we should not be afraid or be suspicious of robots. What's more important is we can learn to be masters of technology. And as an association, we believe we want to be able to bring that awareness across to SMEs to help all the SMEs, Hutcabb, and the workers understand that the technology is here to serve us. And that's what we want to do.
Okay. So I remember you were sharing with me those assistive is that, for example, somebody is disabled, then it's a broken leg, broken arm. So those are the things that wrap around. The long time ago, the basic one is just to protect. But the new one, I understand, is that they can learn how do you move this, move that, and they can assist you.
Yes.
Example lah.
Yes. I can give you a couple of examples. In the work that we do, we work with different parties around the world. So the example I'll give is this, right? We work with a Korean company that provides an exoskeleton. Now, exoskeletons, as you all know it, is this device that you wrap around your body and it tries to support you and move your body. But what's so special about this product that came from Korea is that it has built-in intelligence to enable a person who cannot walk, who has not walked for many, many years, to walk. And an example is a housewife who got caught in a fire accident, and from waist down, she was immobilized. And for about 5 years, she really had to rely on her wheelchair to move around. But with this technology, and after months of training, and I repeat, months of training, so it's not just overnight it happens, right? After months of training and endurance, she's now able to climb steps with the machine. Now imagine, if you're not able to move your limbs and you're now able to climb steps with the machine, it tells you a lot. Now what this machine does is that it fits into your body, it learns the movement that you have as you chose it to be. You can program, you can trigger the movement speed and pace, and more importantly, it captures that pattern so that at the end of the day, how fast or how slow you want to move, the system actually learns that and collaborate with you to support what you want to do. So that's one good example. You talk about healthcare, right? Another example is our collaboration with an Israeli company. which looks at how the elderly can maintain composure at times of stress. So what is important is, I guess the concept of a robot companion is there. Now, what can this robot companion do? This example that I'm quoting you allows a robot to kind of at least communicate with the human, allow you to kind of touch the robot, pat it, and it will kind of respond to you. But what is important is, like all elderly, when they are usually at home alone, there can be anxiety. At times of anxiety, you need somebody to comfort you, to be with you and support you. This robot has a capability that as you touch the machine, it's able to generate a heartbeat that sends up a rhythm that paces you up or paces you down. So if your heart is palpitating and you're very anxious and very worried, it's able to capture that pattern and over time pace you down so that you can relax. At the same time, it's able to talk to you, give you comforting words, and more importantly, send a message immediately to your family members to alert them on what's happening. So these are kind of intelligent robots that we're talking about. And none of this process I've talked to you about are predetermined. The machine will learn over time, and personalization of the robot functions is so important that can able to support you as a human being. So those are just two examples.
Yeah, okay. So just to sum up for my common layperson understanding, a person cannot walk, now can take a few more steps. And the steps are all different people, different height, different weight, different phases of learning to climb.
Yes.
And the other one is for a good companion, because in time to come, there are a lot more senior people around, and then especially people who are alone. Okay, so there's a companion. Okay, so now that we understand a little bit about the assistive robotics, so now we come to the business part. So just about, let's say 2018, 2019, you were going about your own business of promoting this. So what were some of the changes that pre-2019, what were your plans?
I think pre-2019, there were a lot of expectations, right? The economy worldwide was doing pretty well overall, right? Most businesses were booming, and there was a lot of expectation of what technology can do to support us. However, there was one factor which made a difference pre-COVID and during COVID. That is the willingness to change. Everyone was comfortable. Everyone was in their comfort zone, doing their business. They knew things would happen. They knew that they will make the ends meet. They will make things happen, and they're happy with what they're doing. So when it comes to technology, there was this thinking that it can wait. We can wait for the next round. We can wait for the next year. There's no rush. But with COVID coming into the picture, we realized that we're now on a burning platform. On a burning platform whereby we need to change. We need to do something about what we are doing and where we are going, because life is no longer the same. So that change factor, the change driver, created a lot of interest to explore what the technology can do for us. However, having said all that, COVID was not too friendly with us, even though we can want to make the change now, the situation doesn't allow us to meet and talk and show. Okay. So a lot of us have to pivot towards a virtual environment and to demonstrate how technology can support you.
Okay.
Virtually, it's not so easy, right? It takes time. On the other hand, it allows a lot more people to see and hear and understand what's happening.
Okay, so COVID changes everything. So in this case, it was like everything was fixed and planned based on past data until COVID come.
Yeah.
Now everything has to samula, or at least have to change. In your case, because the keywords then was all essential. That means we do the essential things first. That means we take care of the food, take care of water, take care of who and what, and go from there. So how did that affect particularly your work? Other than the general things that go from there.
There was one interesting trend that we saw when we talked to a lot of customers and audience. there is the need to think about the future, right? So while you're right, dealing the essentials was key, there were, however, a group of people who felt that we need to think beyond
The essential.
the essentials, because eventually COVID will go away, right? They're all hoping that whether it's 9 months, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, it will go away eventually, right? So when it goes away, what happens post-COVID? So there were people who were actually thinking about what happens post-COVID. And this is where it created a factor, a learning factor, where some of the audience out there wanted to know what could they do different, how can they prepare for post-COVID. That's where the interest in technology, particularly in assistive robotics, jumped up quite a lot. Quite a lot in the sense whereby when we organize events and try to share some of this technology, surprisingly, we have retirees, we have housewives, we have students who come and listen to us and wanted to find out what's happening. So I got a chance to talk to a couple of the housewives. Hey, what has it got to do with you now, right? This is assistive technology. And the housewives say, we're all stuck with the current environment. I want to make sure that my next generation, my children, is prepared for the future. And she wants to be able to communicate with their children to help them understand what technology is available to them. Hence, they came and listened. For the retirees, their feedback was very simple. They already found a generation gap between them and the younger ones. The intergeneration gap between the grandpas and the grandchildren was quite much there. So what can they do to understand technology so that post-COVID, they can reconnect back with the young ones? So we discovered that COVID actually churned out a number of very interesting trends that we can leverage on and in fact use technology to support and enhance upon our living.
Okay, so the pleasant surprise was, since everything come to a standstill, you have, like, I use the word captive audience. So in normal times, they wouldn't be bothered, they do their own thing. So now is everybody have to stay at home and do Zoom, and that's why you got your captive audience there. Okay, so that's good as in the trends and the changes that's out there. But how does it affect you as a owner, that there are things that you wanted to do and now you cannot do? So how, as your business point, so that's the part that we are coming.
Yes. One of the most difficult challenge, of course, is the networking and the ability to connect with people from overseas. Pre-COVID, I used to travel every month. I used to go to Taiwan, to China, to Korea, to Japan, Southeast Asian countries, and I meet my partners, I look at the products, I was able to understand what they do and what we do in Singapore and use those products or bring those products to Singapore. COVID stopped all that. In fact, it was very difficult then to understand what's happening in New Zealand, for example. All we could see is through this little window on the PC to see their product moving, and you cannot really appreciate what the technology can do. So in a way, the progress of learning new technology and understanding best practices around the world came to a slight standstill because we really could not connect through a lot more. And that was quite disturbing to us.
Okay, so the travel part stopped because you need to have conferences, summit, exhibition, so where everybody gather in. So that went on for season 1, then season 2. Maybe share with the audience a little bit your lowest point where you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and you get very
frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest frustration is the uncertainty, right? When we try to organize certain activities, we try to connect up with the audience, the members, it has to change again and again and again. All the logistics have to be relooked at, replanned, and that was really frustrating because a lot of energy was spent and could not realize the outcome. There were a number of us who virtually gave up hope because they spent so much time planning and executing, but at point of it happening, it couldn't happen because the policy changed. I guess in Singapore, one of the biggest pendulum swings was the number of people that can come together. Right? We kind of swing from 2 person to 5, 8, and then back to 2. And that was very difficult for us to organize things, to get people together. And the biggest setback that we faced was when we put on so much effort to try and organize something, plans have to change overnight because of an announcement. So that was very difficult for us.
Okay, so you're in the business of organizing and the events planning and the conferences and all that. That requires, it's a multi-million-dollar business across other trade as well. So having said that, but you still did not give up hope. And until recently, share with the audience, you just came back from Korea.
Yes.
That's the little light at the end of the window.
Yes.
That we can share.
Yes. Yeah, we were kept home base for 2 whole years, right? I remember my last trip pre-COVID was in December 2019, right? Traveling overseas. And perhaps maybe a closer example was I did do a drive across the causeway in January 2020. So for almost 2 years, we couldn't do much. So when the VTL concept was announced, it was really excitement for a lot of us. We jumped onto the first flight to Korea. I remember it was a 1 a.m. flight on the 15th of November on the Korean Air. And when we get there was so much happiness. The CEO of the Incheon airport and his team were there to welcome us. Right? It was quite amazing, right? There was a lot of drama and a lot of music and it was like you get out of the departure hall and this whole group of people were there clapping and cheering and say welcome to Korea. So that was really positive. Of course, it comes along with a couple of inconveniences. Though no quarantine, we had to go through a couple of PCRs. But having said that, we were very grateful because we could again reconnect with the people we want to talk to. We spent 2 weeks in Korea to really visit all our partners, to catch up on what's happening, to bring potential technology that can come back to this part of the world to see live how things are working. So it was great. That was all before Omicron, by the way. Yeah. So when Omicron came, the rules changed again. So now it's again very difficult to travel. But the advice I'll give here is when there is a window of opportunity, don't wait. Grab it, do it. And that's what we did, right? We had that window, 15 November, VTL to Korea, we jumped on it.
Okay, one very key lesson here, all SME owners somewhat in the senses, in their feelings of things. Opportunity comes, don't wait. Don't wait for long things, times to come and all sorts of things. So, the short answer now, looking back, the 2 seasons, and looking forward, another 1-2 season, I don't know. What's your senses now? After the machine learn 2 season already. So now season 3, season 4. How does a machine say?
I think COVID is a very different animal, right? It's not like what we can do as human and we learn from past. COVID has got a number of parameters that are unknown to us, right?
Okay.
The mutation, for example, is really so uncertain. We do not know what's the next mutation and how infectious it is, how dangerous it is, right? The good news is the trend seems to be moving towards normalizing this virus such that it becomes a common flu. And if that happens, that would definitely be a big cheer for every one of us.
Okay.
Right? Now, are we able to learn that? The answer is not so easy, right? Because we do not know how the virus will behave. And this is a very important point. Because in AI and machine learning, we all assume that if you have sufficient data, it solves all our problem.
You mean it's not?
No, not true. Let me give you an example, right? I was talking to a HR company who wanted to automate and put in AI into their recruitment process. You know, in headhunting, right? Many times you have to search for candidates, you have to interview them, and then you offer them a job, they take up the job, and then you monitor them over 6 months. And the whole exercise, right, from searching, that could take a 3 to 6 months exercise and then the interview and so on. So can we shorten that? And this human resource company came to me and said, I've got 30 years of experience. I've got 30 years of data.
Wow.
So if I input everything into AI, would it solve my problem? Can I shake leg now? Unfortunately not, right? So for all of you who think that machine learning can do wonders, the data you have can be biased. And one point I highlighted to this CEO is that you have captured a lot of data, but these are all your successful cases. But you have not captured the data of why somebody rejected you. You have not captured the data of why somebody was not successful. And if in the past you've been hiring all males, no prejudice, all males, then your data is going to suggest that males are successful candidates. And you're going to leave out a whole category of females who are up and coming. So your data set in the first place cannot be biased. You must be open to look at what you want to explore further beyond that data set. So the thinking and design around how to adopt and leverage technology is so very important. And this is the part that I believe the leaders of SMEs, the Tauges, can play a huge part because they know enough to inject in their gut feeling that, hold on, some cases can be special. And that's the piece which machines, AI cannot achieve.
Okay, so we now hear that you are quite into the data, how to use it, how not to use it, and more importantly is to manage expectation rather than robotics and everything can do all sorts of wonders. I want the rainbow yesterday, I want the magic flying boat tomorrow, so on and so forth. Okay, so from what I'm hearing and sensing to you, the last 2 seasons, you just take it as it comes. You don't just sit down and throw up in despair. Neither do you go and overplan. So somewhere the COVID forces the SME owner like you take a very practical and sensible approach, not totally down, but managing expectation, moving forward slowly. Would that be correct?
I think you mentioned a few very important points here, right? One is being SME, you have the advantage of agility. Right? You don't have a big organization where it's very hard to move. Right? Your communication can go directly to the front line.
Okay.
Right? And you should take advantage of that.
Okay.
So in other words, if you need to implement any change or suggest anything different, you can do that quite quickly. SMEs can change very quickly. The only factor is some Tauges can be quite hard-headed. They believe that 40, 50 years of experience, they've done it before.
Cannot be wrong.
Cannot be wrong, right? But COVID is a new element, right? A new element that comes into play, and you need to figure out how to make that different. The second thing which I think SME leaders can achieve is be willing to learn what happens outside the parameters that they have.
Example?
I personally believe in cross-pollination. Right. Now, cross-pollination in the sense that if I'm in construction, let me find out what's happening in medical. If I am in the retail business, let's find out what happens in education. Because there's always best practices that are common success stories that you can learn. And the way you can be successful because of your agility, and if you know enough to be flexible, right? Clearly, you have a huge advantage. You have a huge advantage of how you can be successful. The third factor is, like it or not, SME can attract one of the best talent. Best talent in the sense that there are talents out there who wants to know enough about what's happening in the industry. Find those people who are prepared to do anything. You go to a big multinational, you learn one part of the business. You can be a successful product manager, but you're product manager of one product, right? By the time you move up to be a product director or a portfolio manager, you may know a few, but you don't know enough depth. But in an SME, honestly speaking, your team can know a good breadth of what's happening. Find the right people who are passionate about that, and you can grow the business very successfully. So agility, flexibility, and talents, right, who wants to grow breadth, that combination can make and create a very huge advantage for SMEs to become successful, particularly during COVID and I would say post-COVID as well.
Okay, there you've read it, ladies and gentlemen. 3 DNA of successful SME leaders: agility, flexibility, and the talent to be very multi-discipline, multi-scope to go from there. Yeah, okay, so that means if you are not multi-scope, you got a long way to go. Okay, so maybe we just wrap up. I wrote down a lot of this good stuff that goes from there. So you seems now a lot more higher emotionally on the perks. We are now at least no more tired already, no more uncertainty. Well, it's not that it's no more, but it's just that a lot more things can be done. Okay, so maybe some last words. What would be post-COVID encouragement or last words?
I personally believe that technology is here to stay.
Like it or not?
Whether it's like it or not, whether it's AI or robotic, it's here to stay. Post-COVID, there'll be more and more of AI and technology. I encourage everyone to know and understand technology so that you one day can be masters of technology because you control technology. Don't let technology control you.
Stay in front, control the technology. And if you insist on staying behind, guess what? Technology will be your master and you are, good luck to you. Thank you very much. And can we give a hand? Thank you.
Thank you.